It's been about time, not only by the translation, but finally we get some background information on one of the sins. I thought we would never get another sin, and let me tell you, this was quite a shock, really. I did not expect this. Did not expect this at all. In the end, the emotionless, the cold, the one who always seemed to be completely blunt and not realizing anything, dull Gowther, threw away his emotions because he really did know love. And this is his sin, the sin of lust, for having made love to a woman he fell in love with. Unfortunately, that woman, or that girl, had a heart disease. So when they had sex, unfortunately, she died. And he fought by donating his doll heart, because the doll Gowther actually did have a heart, a magic heart. But that couldn't save her. So he threw away that heart. That doesn't exactly make sense though on why the doll Gowther today wants to have a heart. But then again, he broke his commandments, so he did forget everything about himself and who he really was, and everything in memories of else too. So the doll Gowther wants to have a heart to know everything, because he still subconsciously longs for those emotions that he had a long time ago, that love to that one lady. He subconsciously, despite having not a heart, longs for that. This is the story of Gowther, and this is Nanatsu no Taizai, chapter 211.5, the side story, the doll that asked for love. Turns out that the doll Gowther was under the castle of the Leones a long time ago, and was found by the Barta and Diena's older sister called Nadja. Turns out that Gowther had been there a very long time ago, and was actually, while still talking emotionless, still had his emotion. And the only reason that Nadja actually found the doll Gowther was actually because, well, DSL, no, not DSL, Barta had vision power, could see that. So Nadja did that out of curiosity. And here comes the even greater shocker. Well, not actually that big of a shocker, but it is surprising nonetheless. Gowther awoke after maybe, who knows, many centuries, maybe 3,000 years. And under the the basement, deep basement of Castle Leones, it turns out there is where the first Fairy King forest was. The forest we have seen in the flashbacks. Now things is making even more sense on why Gloxnia and so many more have such animosity against humans. Because the humans built the Castle Leones over Stigma's headquarters. Now, if that is not controversial, I don't know what is. Who knows? It also revealed that the real Gowther somehow, and I do mean somehow, actually died a very long time ago. Not knowing why, his body looked surprisingly dried up. So he told the doll Gowther, as a final and first gift to him, to fulfill his dream. Whatever that dream was, no one really knew. It may have very well been the dream to see through eyes in freedom. Nadja and the doll Gowther became friends, and it turns out also that the reason why Gowther always has been drawn to books is not only because he has loved the stories, it is also a subconscious ability. It's because it was Nadja who introduced him to books. So that's also a subconscious reason why the doll Gowther, who has no memories of his past, likes to read books. Because the reading books was the gift that Nadja gave him. And it also turns out that Gowther had the ability to manipulate his hair even back then. And he shows a very long time ago that he did have a heart, a magic heart, not a human heart. A doll heart that actually looked very similar to something. But it then turns out that Nadia actually herself was sick. She suffered from some kind of chronic illness, not sure what. Maybe she had a heart disease. She said she couldn't get into this place a very long time outside the castle. And seeing the doll Gowther's heart made her have a heart attack. But she did not die, at least not there yet. But she held no feelings of guilt, I mean anger towards the doll Gowther, who entered the castle now dressed as a maid. So as a maid, they did everything together and had their own adventure. Essentially, the doll Gowther fell in love with Princess Nadja, and many things more. Because and doll Gowther wanted to become like the characters in the books because he wanted to become like Nadia, someone who wanted to do so many things. Eventually, Barta told the doll Gowther because he was the only one who knew that the maid was doll Gowther because he met them when in the festival. Turns out that uh, it's it's during that time that Barta actually confessed that mm, that he could see in the visions, and saw a vision where Nadia was smiling very happily. Eventually, though, doll Gowther still began to question, even though he did have a magic heart, his feelings and his I mean, he was a doll. He wasn't human, nor was he demon, and he'll continue to exist. But Nadia and doll Gowther fell in love, and Gowther, having been afraid of losing Nadia too, and remembering that the real Gowther created doll Gowther in order to become his eyes, ears, and hands so he could see the world. The real Gowther had a dream. What that dream was, not even this doll Gowther knew. So they made love, and while Nadia was very happy in these moments, her heart was failing. Her final wish was to spend the day with Gowther, and alas, I think, or I'm not sure if this really did happen, but they did make love. And by making love, unfortunately, Nadia's heart stopped. Gowther, in almost madness and sadness, tore out his doll heart and tried to put it into Nadja in hopes of she will be awakened. Alas, it couldn't. And that is why why Gowther is the sin of lust. And just like all the other sins, it's a sin that plays with his sin. He truly did love Nadja, and Nadja truly loved him. Alas, because she had her heart condition, she died. And Gowther just wanted to save her. Alas, in this situation, it looked like he raped her, and worse. So that's how the the doll Gowther lost his heart. He tried to use his magic heart to save Nadja. He couldn't. So he discarded it, and by doing so, lost everything emotions. Or maybe he really did have the commandment a very long time ago, and by discarding his heart and realizing that he did not want to have a heart, the commandment struck, and therefore he lost the emotions. Yeah, maybe that's how it is, and that's how he was sentenced. We also see a young Denzel, but Barta surprisingly was the only one who understood all this. Because he understood that although Dol Gowther was condemned for all of this, he knew this was not exactly what did happen. Because in his visions he saw his sister smiling. Alas, that smile he saw in his vision was her final moments, and she was happy. So, so Gowther lost his heart. So, and now here is what I'm confusing. If he did throw away his heart, saying, "I'd rather not have a heart. I'd rather just have an old, plain old doll," then does that mean the commandment did strike and he did lose himself and his memories? Or is it for the fact that by throwing away his heart, he also threw away his memories? Given to the fact that he seems to be completely clueless about everything else, I actually thought the commandment struck him after he discarded the heart. So, do the dull Gowther now remembers everything that has happened? Who knows? He needs to have his heart back though, because if the real Goth, if the dull Gowther gets his heart back, then perhaps he can learn from everything else. He wanted to become a doll because he didn't want to, uh, because having a heart would hurt so much, and he didn't want to remember anymore. So he would rather just throw it away. Alas, though, the dull Gowther of the current time wants to have a heart because he wants to know. So this is, as I said in the beginning of this video, all of this is subconscious memories. And as Escanor says, he believes Gowther really do have a heart because of his subconscious memories. The memories he subconsciously has in his body. Why does he want to have a heart? Because he wants to remember the girl he loved. Why is he loving books, dramas? Because that's how the girl who loved him introduced it to. Why is he seeking freedom? Because that's how the real Gowther told him to. Everything here makes now perfect sense. And everything about Gowther's past is now revealed. It was freaking about damn time. But what happened to the real Gowther? In this chapter it turned out he did die. How? He looked dried out, almost like he was stricken with the pacifist commandment, but I don't know if that works. After all, the creator did say that the commandments cannot affect the other demon clan members, only themselves and the victims that attack them. So, what do you think about this past? Was it very heartbreaking? I found it very much was. Give me your thoughts if you have any.